Hey, welcome back to Views on Brews. I am Brendan, and this is part 11 of my 10-part series, which has gone a little bit into overtime. But I wanted to finish out properly. We're going to be evaluating the finished beer now. We're 4 weeks after we started brewing this beer, and we're going to just size it up against what's available out in the market and, you know, what can be produced at homebrew level. I've tried this beer now a few times, all the way through its fermentation or bottle conditioning process. So I have a fair good idea, but I'm just going to crack it open now and show you what we have made. It is roughly 5.72% ABV. We started off at 10.58, we finished at 10.14. We've got a decent body to the beer. I've had a few of these bottles, but I'm going to get this one open now. We're also going to compare it to some of the beers that are out there on the market and see just what improvements I could be looking at making. So I'm just going to pour it carefully there. It's very well carbonated. There's a decent head of foam on this beer. You don't have to force the head at all. Got it in my nice Kinnegar glass, which is a lovely Willy Becker glass. As we get to the top, we just make a little bit of a head going on there. Won't pour it all in, always leave a little bit at the bottom. Actually, that looks perfectly clear, but we'll just leave that for now. So there she is, decent head of foam. There's bits of chestnut and brown to the outer edges. A really good IPA style staying two-finger head of foam with a shaven foam sort of thickness bubbles. There is no bubbles popping away, so I know that's going to stay there for a while. That's in part due to the fact that we used dehusked malt, debittered malt, as opposed to roast malt, which would have a higher level of acidity to it. But the things that we were worried about with the water chemistry, we were low on chloride. We were low on chloride and sulfate, and we were high on bicarbonate. So I was expecting a dulled down flavor, but let's just give it a go anyway. So let's have a look at what it has to offer on the aroma. A nice gentle aroma of some sort of bittering hop going on in there. A bit of interplay, catty interplay between those Simcoe hops and the darker malts, which is really what I was looking for. And a bit of chocolate notes going off on there, but no real deep roasty coffee notes at all, which is really good. Cheers, Sláinte, let's give it a go. Well, one thing that I'm really happy with this beer is the fact that it doesn't have a single off flavor in it at all. Sometimes you can get all kinds of stuff going on in homebrew beers. When you try the commercial versions, you say, wow, theirs is all really clean in terms of like having no off flavors. This beer has no off flavors, so that in that sense I'm absolutely delighted. So that's something that you don't expect to see in commercial beers, but when you're evaluating your own homebrew beers, you're going to see, is there anything wrong with it before you actually get a proper taste. It smells nice, it really does. Okay, so there's a nice mouthfeel going on to the beer. It's in no way thin and no way too heavy as well. 5.7%, I was kind of expecting that. And with the malt profile being what it was, there was nothing to make it too thick or to thin it out. So that's good. That's good. Let's check out what the hops are doing. Well, I was hoping to get a really bright, hoppy, but also catty flavor going on. Catty from the Simcoe, but I was hoping to get a lot of fruity notes coming from those mosaic hops, and the mosaic hops aren't there much. If you told me this was 100% Simcoe, I'd say I'd have to agree. There's a really nice, decent amount of bitterness to this beer. Like it's a contender for being like a proper West Coast style black IPA. It's really nice. That bitterness builds up. It's not too heavy like I thought it would be, and it melds quite nicely with the lack of bitterness from the roast malt, which is actually something that I wasn't anticipating. So the fact that there's very little in the way of roasty bitterness allows the bitterness from the Simcoe to take its place, and it's doing a perfect job of that. The mosaic is a bit low in it, but the bitterness isn't so much. You might prefer to take out 10 or 20 IBUs out of this and then go top heavy on the dry hopping with a more fruity hop, or something that has a bit of a citrus edge to it, but really nice. So one of the stylistic elements of a black IPA is to have it dry. This is definitely dry. And another thing that you really, really want is that lack of roastiness. There is a nice chocolatey element to the beer, but there's a real lack of roastiness going on, and I'm really happy about that. So Carafa 3 is a great malt to use, dehusked, debittered malt, but still gives you a decent amount of flavour to it. There is some kind of roast element to it, but it's nothing like a stout at all. It's very, very, very low and tame. And the more you taste the beer, the more that bitterness and the more the Simcoe shines through. But really, like the pininess and the resin element to Simcoe. So absolutely loving the way the beer has turned out. I couldn't be happier. If I was to brew it again, I think I would change up the hops and go with something that has a bit of a punchier, fruitier, tropical element to it. I dial back the IBUs by 15 to 20 IBUs, probably quite a lot, and try and see what it would come out like as a more East Coast style as opposed to a West Coast heavily bittered style black IPA. But other than that, we shot for a target. We've absolutely hit it, with that little bit of a lacking in mosaic character. But I absolutely love it. So that's really all you can ask for. I have passed a few out to friends, and I will be getting back their feedback on the beer, and maybe they see the beer differently. There's a lot of confirmation bias going on when you drink your own homebrew, but when you give it to other people in homebrew clubs, and in particular people that don't really know you, it would be handy to hand out a few of your own homebrew. So people that don't know you, haven't got any kind of reason to say that the beer is fantastic, and get their opinion. I suspect they might say to me it's a little bit bitter and could do with a bit more hops in it. But really, that's all just playing around with homebrewing. And I'm really happy with the beer, and I think it's fantastic. But I would say that. And that's going to do it. So that's been an 11-part epic marathon of a series of home brewing a black IPA, how to brew a black IPA, understanding everything from A through to Z, learning along the way and evaluating the beer and understanding how to actually brew and learn as you go and eliminate the mistakes as you're going, which is pretty much what I've done the whole way by critically analysing every single thing I'm doing. And hopefully you've got something out of it. If you have, give us a like and subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share this content out. So it gets out there a lot more if there's a lot more likes, apparently. So give it a like, and I think that's going to wrap it up. Cheers, sláinte, and it's on to the next one. Bye-bye.